Any minute now. Waiting for it. Waiting for that live button. Let's go.
There it is.
Hasn't popped up on my screen yet. Hang on. Maybe there's a delay. Potentially. Sam, you seeing it? Because I'm not. No.
I see it.
We're live right now. I can see it.
We're live. Okay. Well, you know what? Screw it. I don't know what's going on there. Sorry, guys. We're like waiting for the live button to show up. So I don't know if this is even going to air, but if it is, fantastic. Welcome to the TNT podcast, your number one tech podcast on everywhere. Twitter, I don't know, MySpace, OnlyFans, pretty much anywhere where you get good tech news and information. So, I'm getting crazy, amazing echo there. Okay, I love hearing my own voice come back.
Amazing.
And I love GIFs just popping up. For everyone at home who's listening on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can't see what we see, but every time that we click, like we say something, it pops up an amazing animated GIF and just keeps giving us these fancy things. But anyway, here we are. Another week, another big week in tech. And we got lots to talk about. So we're going to jump right in. I know you've probably seen a whole bunch of stories this week that have got your attention. But the big one that caught my attention, first and foremost, was let's talk iPhone first. So over the last week, there's been an absolute shitstorm of rumors and changes and leaks and everything regarding the iPhone 15 incoming. Now, the biggest one tends to be about the buttons, believe it or not. We're not talking about the cameras. We're not talking about the screen. We're not talking about the frame. We're talking about the buttons. So the buttons of the iPhone 15 Pro, as we've been discussing, were meant to be solid-state buttons. So now it looks like they're backtracking a little bit on solid-state buttons. They're talking about, originally it was going to be all solid-state buttons, as in like they were going to take away the mute switch and they were going to replace it with a button. They were going to use one long button for the volume. And now it's all back. I mean, it's all going back around. So basically, from what we can see now is that the volume buttons won't be solid-state buttons, but the mute switch will be. Dan, what do you think, buddy? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm not that into buttons.
I know, right? Like, why are we making such a big deal?
Well, it's iPhone.
Yeah, I guess.
You have to make a big deal about everything, you know.
So the article I was reading, I was just reading.
Yeah, I just don't get it. It's buttons.
So from what I understand, I think Apple's trying to channel the Apple Watch Ultra design as far as the buttons are concerned. Okay. So you may remember the
design language thing.
Yeah, the design language. I think they're trying to have some consistency. So, you know, the whole big idea here, I guess, would be let's take the buttons, let's make them into actionable, programmable buttons. I think especially to do so with the mute switch. So the mute switch will be, yes, it can be used for a mute switch, but now maybe it'll have dual purpose. Maybe you can double click it and it opens up the camera, perhaps. Or it opens up your favorite app like Spotify or something like that. I think it's a good idea, but I would think it's going to look a little bizarre if you've got one solid state button on one side and the volume button separated on the other. And that's not very Apple-like. Tuna, what do you reckon, bud?
I think so Android has done this before. There's so many manufacturers and they experiment with so many different button combinations. But the reason why it's such a big deal for Apple is because when they change something, it's hot or cold. So to me, I don't really care. I have an iPhone. I very rarely use it. And if the buttons move around a little bit, I don't care. But I understand the concern because when they went from, touch to Face ID, it was like the world was coming to an end and, and then COVID hit. And if you wear a mask, you can't unlock your phone. You have to hit the code. I mean, it's an overreaction, something that's probably minor. And once it hits the streets, you have no choice. You gotta like what they give you. So it's gonna be fine. It doesn't bother me, but that's me personally.
Well, it's funny. A couple of people in the chat just said, yeah, I kind of like this comment. Apple is like a maximum inconvenience for a maximum price. And I think that's a really good way to describe
So
it.
true.
Probably spot on.
Very good, Grady.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, personally, I don't really think the buttons mean all that much. And I mean, I guess,
Right.
you know, it is that season. We're heading into May. People are starting to get that itch. Oh, you know, my iPhone, it's slow now. I can't, you know, it's getting slower. The
It's
software's
slow.
buggy. Yeah. And oh no, Apple released software to slow down my phone, so I need to upgrade, right? Which you know, whether you believe
I'm just
it or
more
not.
interested in if they're actually bringing any meaningful upgrades this time around. That's
Yes. So I mean, from
I
what
want
we
to see if they
understand,
sort out the camera problems and things like that. It's
I think they're going to
buttons-
introduce like a more dynamic island. It's going to be like a
Ooh.
peninsula,
Oh,
a
yeah.
dynamic
2 of 'em.
peninsula or something. You know, because you already own an island if you bought the iPhone 14 Pro. Now you can own
maybe
a
2
peninsula.
islands, one at the top and one at the bottom.
Ooh, I like
Maybe
that.
a,
idea.
a dynamic
New island.
archipelago. That'd be better for it.
Yeah,
Say
that
that
would be
real
good.
fast. This whole Apple thing is a solution chasing a problem.
It
Is
is.
anybody asking for
Yeah.
this? I mean, seriously, are we trying
No.
to solve some kind of hardware problem?
No.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. And
What's
so-
wrong
But
with
if you're an
it?
iPhone
Change
user,
for the sake of it,
if you're an
really.
iPhone user, you're going to have to like it. If it's true what they're saying,
Change for
you're
the
going to have
sake
to
of
like
change.
it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's whatever. Like I said, I the only thing I care on an iPhone really at this point going forward is if they have USB-C. Once they go to
Yeah.
USB-C,
Which I think they will.
that's when I really pay attention. Until then, I'm not that interested in iOS or an iPhone. I don't care. And if it happens to be the 16 or the 17,
Agreed.
that's when I
Yeah.
care. Until then, I'm just not going to use it. So
So Charles
buttons
just
are
said here
not
in the
okay.
chat. Yeah, Charles just mentioned in the chat here about they're coming up with like air triggers, which could be interesting, and maybe if they're gonna push maybe a more gaming approach on the
Nah.
15, maybe, but I
No.
don't think so. I don't know. But it goes to big. I mean, Sam, you've mentioned this a few times that solid state buttons are fucking ridiculous. They rarely work the way they're supposed to.
Right.
And they have to be implemented in a very particular way. And, you know, the users have to get familiar with this new format before we do that, right? So I'm just
I mean,
not-
it was on the U12 Plus, and then the problem was that was really HTC's last, production, handset that was a flagship, right? So, and it wasn't in
Yeah.
carrier stores, and so I had a U12 Plus. I had an Exodus One, as a matter of fact. I had both.
yeah.
Had the same button. That was the crypto facing U12, which I wish I would have kept. It was kind of cool. Anyway, again, I just using them was weird. I mean, they had this really weird haptic click. It was kind of not,
Right.
and then when you're trying to, change the volume, you'd push it and it would register, but then there was a delay. But then sometimes it would be overly sensitive and it would double. Like it would double notch when you push it. It would kind of, again, the software and the implementation just was of the hardware was just a little disconnected. And I think if HTC would have been in the game, so I think Apple's implementation, by their history, will be better. Obviously, from a software and hardware perspective, they're going to definitely have a more, but like I said, when I used it on the U12 Plus, it just was one of the things about the device that I found to be, again, the device already had waterproofing. I don't understand the button. I mean, if you make a solid state button, then you have less, you have a better ingress protection. But the iPhone already has IPC. I mean, it's like what? So again,
How long ago was that the U12 came out? 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago?
I'd say it's about 4 years ago. I think it was 2019.
So maybe technology's changed.
Yeah.
Apple tends to hold back a little bit and work on things. Maybe it is much better now, but the tactile feel of a haptic, they're known for their haptic feedback. So maybe they've done some magic and it will work out just fine.
Again, that's why that statement was qualified. I don't care. It's not the
Right.
time frame that refined it. I don't think that I don't think it's because, it's been 4 years, so it's a refinement of it. Apple is going to do a better implementation of it just because their haptic motors are better, their hardware is better, and they have a track record of bringing solid hardware to their devices as far as look and feel and fit and finish and function. Software, again, is where it falls apart a little bit. So they're definitely going to throw some
Can
energy.
we just
behind it.
appreciate for a second how good looking this phone is? Like, I
Such
know
a good looking
HTC
phone.
always made
Such a good
amazing
looking phone.
hardware.
It was
That- but
it was
transparent. That's what
spectacular.
sold me.
Yeah.
That was
It was
yeah,
cool.
and
Yeah.
I and
Yeah.
I was and I know a lot of people didn't like the UI, but I was a real huge Sense fan. I love
was.
Sense UI. I liked the way the clocks worked. I just like Sense. I just loved HTC phones, and again, it just drives me crazy that they don't have it in the market anymore. But yeah,
Aren't they
this
the
is one
ones that
of them.
like the flip clock widget? That was like their thing, and that thing was.
Yeah.
I bought a phone just for that dang widget, so I was a huge fan.
It was
so.
my favorite Android phone, HTC. Yeah.
Yeah, I that was my first Android phone when I had an HTC One M7, the M7. That's the M8. But yeah, I like the fact that at one point I had an HTC One M8 for Windows and for Android. I had both devices.
Ah, interesting.
So it was kind of cool. I liked the way it was implemented on Windows Phone on the HTC. It was really cool. You got the best of both worlds, I thought. So it was kind of cool.
So Tuna wants to know what's Apple going to call their invented solid-state buttons. It's going to be some bullshit term. I'm curious to see what they're going to
You got to use a really
the infinity button.
There you go. But it's got to be a really explosive.
Because you can
adjective.
use whatever you program, whatever you want. It's infinite possibilities.
But like Dynamic Island,
There you go.
There you
go. I've done it for you. I've done it for your Apple.
Yeah, he's done. Dan works for Apple. he's got it. He's
Apple
figured it
chill.
out for us. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's. I'm sure. Like, Apple's. We all know Apple is a marketing machine, and at the end of the day, they're going to come up. They're going to sell it like it's the greatest thing that's ever happened, and they invented solid state buttons. No other phone company before them had it.
Well, gaming you mentioned have like those soft triggers on the top, and I hate
that's what
now they don't have as good of feedback, but I never liked them and I never used them. Your Switches and your all these new gaming devices like the Steam Deck, they actually have physical buttons in the back, and it's a much better feel. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting, but like I said, if you're an Apple person and you love Apple, it doesn't matter what they do. You're going to have to like it. You're not going to have a real big choice on this, and it'll eventually grab mainstream attention, and everything will be just hunky dory, and we'll all live happily ever after.
Yeah, and I mean, I think at the end of the day, again, Apple's marketing machine is going to sell the hell out of it. People are going to buy it. And, in the United States, in Canada especially, if people that are listening in those areas, Apple products sell like wildfire. They could shit out a yellow iPhone and it still sells. So,
wait, they have a yellow iPhone? When did that happen?
I don't know. That's what I heard. So... yeah, I don't know if anyone bought it. Apparently they did, but I guess we'll find out, right? So, speaking of Apple, sorry, go ahead.
So Roddy's having some technical difficulties. I think that's why he bowed out. He was messaging me something. I don't know what's going on.
So I was reading just before we came on air. There was an article that caught my attention today on Engadget. So Apple is big into the environmental space. I don't know if you know this. But Apple's going to change the world. They're going to turn around global warming. They're going to stop the food shortage crisis. Poverty is going to disappear.
All with this, a charger.
Yes, exactly. Yep. With their environment. So there was an article that came out on Engadget today talking about, it said that Apple's batteries will use 100% recycled cobalt by 2025. Okay, so basically Apple's coming out. They're promising eco-friendly batteries. By 2025, they're going to be 100% recycled. All in-house circuit board designs will use recycled gold plating, tin soldering. They're promising basically, from what it says in this article here, they were saying that they want to be carbon neutral by 2030. So
they need to be slave neutral. That's what they need.
Well, there's that too. Yeah. So what I was getting
at well and good recycling the cobalt, but if you're using slaves to mine the damn stuff.
Well, it's funny that you say that, Dan, because the article says here, it actually talks not just about that side of things, but also how the mining of cobalt's actually quite a dangerous process. It says here that the mining of process contaminates air, earth, water, and can lead to health issues for miners and the general population.
Kids doing it with their bare hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the thing, and I mean, I find it very ironic that you've got this massive tech company who basically is promising this environmental revolution, right? They're going to change the world. This is it, and yet the batteries that they're going to be having in their phones by 2025 are going to have killed thousands of people because of the dangerous mining practices of cobalt. I don't know. I find that interesting. You know, like they're pushing this.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no plastic. We're recycled cardboard.
It's all tech companies, though. It's all of them. It's not.
Oh, 100%. It's not just Apple, but
Apple sticks out because they're a big company. And I made a joke before we got on, but you know, it doesn't matter what they do with cobalt because if they save the whales with charging, then it offsets them.
Yeah.
But it's not funny, but it is funny. Like these companies
100%.
can't do anything. Companies can't do anything right now. To be honest with you, it seems like they're all climbing a mountain right now, and no matter what they do, it seems like someone's out there ready to pounce on them for something. But yeah, I didn't read that article. That's just something I'm gonna have to look into because cobalt, if it is mined like you're saying, it doesn't make much sense that Apple would jump, you know, both feet into something
mined,
like that.
Mostly by hand.
And
people just don't have adequate tools or anything, so they're all getting poisoned. They're all dying from it.
Right.
Of course.
And,
right?
It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
But the iPhone will be environmentally friendly with their clean energy and their cobalt batteries, right?
I think this right here is going to be the next iPhone.
Yeah, that's it. It's just going to be about, You know what? I can't wait for this because you know what's coming. When Apple goes, we're now using recycled plastic for the body of our phones. It's going to look like an iPhone 5C, right? And everything's going to be recycled plastic.
Bring back polycarbonate.
The metal's going to disappear. Yeah.
Bring it back.
I'd just be curious to see.
I'm okay with polycarbonate plastic as long as it's done right.
Yes,
like
agreed.
Lumia polycarbonate.
Like the Nexus 5, or Nexus 5,
Yes.
Jesus. The Pixel 5 with that like metal with brush.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could use
I had no
wireless
problems with
charging
that.
still. Yeah, that was an interesting. Yeah, that's just my.
I kind of wish that more companies experimented with, you know, I mean, of course we have like that glass sandwich scenario, right? Like it's always glass on the front, glass on the back. And, you know, Grady's just saying here, one of the largest e-waste creators is going to offer you recycled goods for new device prices. How lovely. Yeah. And I mean, that's exactly my point, right? Like you've got these companies who are promising the world and, you know, that they're going to change. It's going to be revolutionary. The world's going to be a better place because of us and we're in it. And then here we are, you know, with people who are literally losing their lives to mine the materials that are going into it. And I mean, this is a systemic issue. It's not just Apple, like you guys said.
For sure.
But I mean, it's kind of curious that, you know, they're pushing this, and this just came out today because they wanted to have, because of Earth Day coming up, you know, they're pushing this whole message coming out. But it was Engadget was the one who added in that, I guess, disclaimer, if you will, saying, hey, it's all well and good to say you're going to have cobalt batteries, but just so you know, people are going to die doing it. Just interesting kind of chaos. All right, let's switch out of Apple and leave them alone for a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the Pixel. So we got right now, if you've been paying attention on Twitter lately, the Pixel 6a is on a fire sale. You can pick them up for pretty much nothing. Usually a good indicator that the 7a is on its way. I think early May is when it's expected. I forget the date. But we saw some leaks come out this week where they're looking at a new, now I'm going to say new color here, but if you think right back to the original Pixel, there was a blue version of the original Pixel, but some renders came out. I'll pull it up on screen.
I think you're right.
I think there was a 3A or something, weren't there, that was a similar sort of blue to this, apparently.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of trying to pull up an image here. I think this is the one. So let me see if I can pull up an image of what it may look like, allegedly. So this is the alleged Pixel design-ish. I don't know if this is the 7 or the 7A or whatever. I think this is just a basic general idea.
Is that gradient? Is that a gradient color, like from light to dark?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, again, I think this is like leaked, designed, and renders. I think this might be a better look. Hang on one second. Let's share this.
I don't know. You know what I hear already people saying?
There you go.
That's the one.
I hear people saying that the chin and the top bezel are not symmetrical, so I'm done. Nah, I'm done. It's over.
Bezels, man.
Yeah.
Sam, we can't hear you.
4A had the barely blue.
There you go. It was
a
orange
4A.
one. Yeah, barely blue.
Yeah.
That's barely blue.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like
I think it looks good.
I think so too, Roddy.
Yeah,
I was just
I
going to
like
say
it.
that. Like, I think it actually is a nice color, and I always said, like, you know, if you think about like the blue iPhones being quite successful, just yeah, we
Very
just got
nice.
a Borat
Very
gif
nice.
there, just for
Very-
the record.
I am liking Pixel for most glorious
Oh.
benefits of Pixel. Very nice. Whoa,
I
whoa,
like
whoa.
Very nice.
Here in
So
Kazakhstan.
I find it.
Yeah.
I find it so funny that, like, you know, that Google's kind of taken a page from Apple here, and you know, we all know that Apple's blue iPhones tend to sell pretty well. I think what was the last year's one? The 13 Pro Blue, was that Pacific Blue?
Yeah, yeah.
See, if Google really
yeah,
wants to
Sierra,
succeed,
Sierra Blue.
they need a
Blue.
banana
Yeah,
yellow.
Sierra
They need,
Blue,
they,
thanks.
they need a
That was
banana
quite
yellow, or they're not going to do it. They're not going to do well without a banana yellow. And
Agreed.
in the
Agreed.
commercial,
It's not
and
well,
I have a
isn't
unique, you know, for the commercial, they should have someone hold the phone and then turn into an animated character and walk around taking pictures. I'm just throwing it
Well,
out there.
yeah, I mean, that's some good marketing from Apple there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's. What do you think the color's going to be called? I didn't see any.
I think what Sam said, that whatever it was
Almost
called
blue.
before, yeah, almost blue or
What was that?
classic blue.
Sorry,
Or
Dan?
like West Coast blue.
Yeah,
Here's the thing.
almost blue.
Hot take. I don't give
Almost
a shit
blue?
what color the phones are.
Yeah.
To do with the sky.
I mean, seriously.
I'm
first of
surprised,
all-
Sam.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
Right, I know, hot take, right?
Yeah.
First of all,
Hot
are you
take.
rocking it? Are you rocking a clear case or are you rocking naked? And if the answer
Naked.
is no,
That's
and
naked.
no, no,
Yeah.
I'm saying on your day to day, are you
Oh.
going to use any
Oh.
phone
Naked.
Yes.
totally naked?
Clear
And-
case.
Okay, well,
Naked.
right.
I always
and
wear clear cases.
If you are, then you are. But if you're not, the color's not really relevant.
Exactly.
Well,
it
because
doesn't
when I bought
matter.
my phone, I liked
Sure.
like this hazel one. I bought it because it was hazel. If I put a solid
yeah.
color on it, what's the point?
Right.
Exactly.
But I'm
yeah.
saying most people.
Right.
Everybody-
You're right.
When I
You're right.
do yourself a favor, walk through your local grocery store or walk in a park and look around. Most people are
Black
using
cases.
a case that either totally obscures the color
Yep.
or is blinged out or whatever. And so not everybody uses a clear case. If you do, cool. I usually try to, but since I don't sometimes, like on my
Well,
Huawei, it's a yellow
Right.
Yeah.
TPU case.
It's kind of an
black.
offshoot, but like that Oppo X6
Yeah.
Pro, it has a leather orange, and they had a
Yeah.
case included in the box that has
Oh,
the
yeah.
same exact color. So you're
I like
protecting
that.
it, and you can
Yeah.
kind of afford that color look. I
Yeah,
think
and
that's
so
kinda
what
interesting.
I'm saying is if you have like an OEM case from that manufacturer and they they give you like a hard case, like I would like to see Google come out with a fabric case that was this blue kind of color.
Oh, yeah.
That would
Yes.
be kind of
Ooh,
like,
that
I
would be
would-
nice.
that would be a
Yes.
case to get into because that way, even if you don't get the blue, you can kind of fake the blue because you can kind of throw the blue on there and it's still.
Did
that
you guys
fabric.
like how the
Yeah.
fabric case is kind of like not patinaed, but like kind of
wear.
should wear?
Yeah,
Yeah, I like
that's
Yeah.
why I
that.
like
Yeah.
leather.
Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
it,
Like
it
leather,
shows wear,
right.
and it's not
Right.
it's not dirt.
Patina.
It's just use.
That's-
It's
Strong
such a
term.
good. Yeah, I loved that they. Why is it that everything I love they stopped doing? Windows Phone, HTC,
Same.
cases
I'm the same.
got really. Like, why is it that it's like when I find a good thing at a restaurant, you go back in 6 months, like, oh, we discontinued it. I'm like, it was
Just
one
say
of the
you hate
best
it.
things yeah.
Say
Yeah,
this phone is hideous. It's
Right, but-
ugly, and then you'll keep it going.
I really liked the fabric cases. I thought for the Pixel line, I thought those were really slick. I really liked
Agreed.
that.
I agree.
Something
too.
Especially
different.
for grip. Like just having in the hand feel, having some grip. Like I mean, most of these are like slippery, plastic or glass
Yes.
designs. I mean, for me personally, like I'm a clumsy fuck. I'm gonna drop my phone no matter what if I don't have a case on it, right? And I mean, it doesn't have to be the most heaviest case, but just something that's got some grip on the sides. It needs to have something. But I could understand why people would want to go clear case on this one. Like that's a beautiful looking phone.
It is.
And I mean,
Yeah.
you know that Google is very good with their designs of like the latest, 7 and even the 6 to a large extent. And I think this design language is what's going to stick around for a little longer. From what we see, the rumors of the 7 or the 8 and 8 Pro. So they're talking about a smaller 8 and a similar size 8 Pro. And I think there's some slight changes on the Pro model to the camera bar. I think instead of
I think they
some
need to
changes.
keep the 8 Pro and the 8. They need to keep the cameras, everything the same, just the size. Kind of like
Yes.
the 8,
Yeah.
the 14 Pro. Well, the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max do have some slight camera differences, I believe. Nothing major. But I think
Yeah.
that would make it a better sell because it seems like if you want a smaller phone, you're going to make a sacrifice because when they what was the Google Pixel they introduced? It didn't have the wide angle. They had a zoom instead, saying people preferred zoom.
4XL.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they came out
Yeah.
and now they have both. So, but if you want, I don't know. I mean, I like wide angle, but I also like the optical periscope zoom.
Yeah,
as
I like
well.
the zoom.
Yes.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
I just kind of feel like
strength
they're trying to sort of differentiate the two
They are.
models for some reason, even though they're both,
Well,
The
you
same.
can have a
Well,
low.
I
You
mean,
can have a
look-
lower DPI. You can have a lower
Yeah.
resolution. You can have 1080p for all I care in the smaller one and the big one. I just think maybe
Yeah.
it's a size constraint because the
Just give it
iPhone
a
14
smaller
the
telephoto
Pro,
or something.
the Pro and Pro Max don't have periscope zoom, so they have maybe that's
Yeah.
one of the issues is the space for that periscope. So I don't know.
So
We'll see what
what I'm curious, what I was going to say, what I'm curious about is that, so you've got this Pixel 7a that's coming out, and from what we know so far about, specs and everything like that, I mean, it looks like it's a direct competitor to its own phone, the Pixel 7. Like we're talking 90 hertz display, OLED screen, dual cameras. I'm just not sure if this is a good idea. Like you're going to butcher one of your, pro version line phones for the sake of a budget phone. And I mean, I guess that might drive up sales because we know that the A series for Pixel tends to sell quite well.
I think it sells
does
better
that
than
mean
that's why.
Oh, maybe it does. Yeah, maybe it does. But
Mhm.
I just find it very bizarre that usually there's some omissions, but from what I can see here, and we don't know for sure yet, it looks pretty much like a 7. 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. Like, it
Do you remember?
pretty much looks like a
Don't
7.
you remember the MKBHD video when he did the 6A and it kept winning all those blind tests and it had a 12 megapixel camera on it? I think it really just depends on what you want, and I think the average consumer can grab this. I keep saying that term, but like a general phone that's not made of glass, that's not going to break very easily, and it's a reasonable price. It's if you enjoy Google services, it's going to have everything you need, and you can point and shoot and take a picture. It's not going to be blurry because someone's moving. I mean,
far more practical. It's far more practical.
far more practical.
100%.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, I just don't know. Like, I mean, I know Adita here just said, why don't these devices sell out an iPhone? Like, Apple and Samsung need to give a reality check, but sadly, your North American market is just too plain, right?
Oh, Patrick, you made him cry. Come on.
Sorry. But it's a fair point, right? I mean, I always said, like, Google's always had this like uphill battle on trying to get consumers to buy into their ecosystem and their products. And, I think the 6 and the 7 have done a good job starting that momentum, but it's just not enough. They just can't capture the market share, right? And I think with Samsung just popping out phones,
it is.
It is. And I mean, look at Samsung, right? Samsung releases fucking 30 phones a year? And they're all every price range from $0 up to like, $15 to $2,000. How do you compete with that, right?
And
like,
the average consumer is gonna say, when I think of Android, I think of Samsung, not Google.
Exactly.
And the problem with Google is they have
Yeah.
for forever and still now they throw everything but the kitchen sink out and they cancel everything that doesn't work instead of perfecting it. So Apple does the opposite. They wait and see. And they reinvent it, they rename it, whatever you want to call it. But then when they release it, that product is, for the most part, now recently they've had some bugs, but for the most part, that device is, ironed out, and they're not going to cancel. When's the last time Apple actually canceled something that people were worried about? Besides the
Google just don't give
phone?
things the time. They just don't give things.
They
It's same
don't.
with Microsoft.
No.
Same with Microsoft. They're just the same. And
You're right.
Apple just persists, as you say, just make things as good as it can be, and people eventually start using it.
So a couple of comments here. So Jenny online basically just said the durability of Samsung with the guts of Apple. Yeah, I mean, really not a bad choice. And then Mike, who's a regular here on TNT podcast, he's basically saying that people aren't switching companies anymore
MP2.
once they're accustomed to a specific device, OS, UI, and most people aren't likely to switch.
If they do,
they're
going from iPhone to Samsung or Samsung to iPhone.
Exactly,
Yeah.
just back and forth. Yeah.
If you're in the United States, if you're in the United States and they're under 25, it's over. It's over for them. Android is over.
Yeah.
Let's whatever, man. Just you can fight it all you want. It's just you're gonna lose.
Only getting worse.
And nobody under 25 gives a rip about Android. Nobody. Not even guys. I mean, it usually used to be like the purview of women and that kind. Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even a guy. I go to my physical therapy because for my knee.
Oh, they won't date you otherwise.
Yeah,
but I mean,
if I see a woman with an Android phone, I'm like,
it's just
done.
And I mean, look,
Exactly.
look what's happening. It's not because there's lack of innovation. It's not because there's not lack of OEMs. There are form factors and foldables and flippables and all this kind of stuff. There's dozens of OEM manufacturers around the world,
Tech.
and it won't matter because they're all dropping like flies. They're all going to start to fail, and that's why Xiaomi and Oppo and Vivo and all these other companies are not coming into an American market.
And they do well where they're at.
And then OnePlus tried and got their head kicked in, and so they're like, "Nope, sorry."
What do you mean? Yeah. You can pre-order their tablet for $99, and you can get it at the end of April, but you don't know how much it's going to cost. So what are you talking about?
Right.
Is that actually how they're doing it? Is that right?
Yeah,
yes.
I got
oh no!
$99.
Yes.
You can choose from either a free stylus and a keyboard. And then by the end of April, I think they're shipping them, but they don't give you the price. But I was reading somewhere and they said if you get the price is too high, you don't like the price, you can get your money back. So
wow. Okay, so you don't have to agree, you don't have to lock in.
But I gotta call an attorney because my wife doesn't use an iPhone, so we're getting divorced. I just found out.
Oh right,
so
yeah.
I gotta get a hold of an attorney right now.
So sad.
So, Roddy, I know you're under 25, so like, what's your take on the iPhone there, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Everywhere you look around, people will go out and buy an old iPhone that's 4 or 5 years old before they'll go buy a new, Pixel, and they cost about the same amount of money just because they want to have an iPhone. And I mean, I see. I'm a car guy, so you see multiple different age groups and people of, every type of genre out at a car show. And, here in the US, 99% of them all have an iPhone, and they'll carry around. I still see people with, they'll go buy the SE, which how much is that? $800, $600? How much is an SE?
Yeah, it's I think it might even be cheaper now. Like I think it might be under some 500 maybe.
But it's not as cheap as a 6A or 7A. It's not going to be that cheap, right?
No, not that cheap. Yeah, it's always like just $150 more. Yeah.
Right, and the Pixel is way more. I mean, it's way more phone, but they won't buy that because they want to buy an iPhone. So
but you can't FaceTime.
I don't get it.
I hate that argument when someone says I can't FaceTime. I'm like, you have an Apple device. You have access to every Google, every app you possibly can, but you don't understand. Yeah. But what's bad for Android is that we can't install Apple apps, at least not yet, which is never going to happen. So I just think it's that iMessage. It's a never-ending battle. I mean, I don't hate Apple. I use their products and they're fine. I just the way they do their business makes them a $1 trillion company, and they are $1 trillion company for a good reason.
It's working for them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me tell you
$1 trillion company, but that doesn't mean they're in the mobile space. So I mean,
let me tell you a story.
True.
I want to tell you guys a story that I had happen to me this week. So
story time with Roddy.
Story time. There was a post, you've probably seen it. It's I don't know, it's some girl and she's like making an ugly face, and at the top of the caption it says, "Hey, pass me an Android charger," and at the bottom it says, "A what?" And so I saw a guy post that, and underneath that I sent him a screenshot and a link to where they're switching to USB-C. And he goes, "Oh, they're creating a universal world charger? That's awesome. Even more reason to buy one." And I was like, that's what Android's been using for 5 years now. What are you talking about? And he didn't say anything else. But that's just kind of how people see it. They just think that, they think that iPhone's at the top and everything they do is the best.
Exception. We're the exception to the rule because we play with everything and we understand that. Yeah. But you're right. That person you spoke to has had an iPhone most of their life and doesn't know any different. I mean, for Easter, my daughter brought her S8 tab over to the in-laws' house and it was dying. She's like, I go, you can't charge it with an iPhone Lightning, but they had an iPad charging. I said, well, grab that one. She's like, why? It's an Apple charger. It doesn't matter. It's USB Type-C. Plugged it in, it started charging. But that's a real problem because all my family on one side has all Apple products and we have all Android. So once USB Type-C is not certified, I guess, but I get it.
It's gonna charge at 5 watts, but it'll be good.
I think Apple should charge a monthly fee for their USB Type-C charging subscription charging.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, for fast charging subscription service.
$5 a month or $75 a year.
And that goes towards saving the planet.
Yeah, it'll offset those cobalt charges that they're doing. See,
Yep.
I love
we're creating.
Grady's comment
solutions.
here is that Apple relies on ignorance and apathy to detect world to remain king.
I'm getting the
well
feeling
said.
Grady
I like
doesn't
that.
like Apple.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Melissa, what
Ooh.
phone are you using currently right now?
Charles, come on.
I'm using the Google Pixel 7 Pro.
Yeah.
All right, so you're okay in our book.
Not bad.
It doesn't matter what phone you use. Come on. We're all inclusive here. We don't care what phone you use.
Exactly, it's true. Now, Melissa, can I ask you a quick question? Have you had a chance to have a look at the Android 14 beta?
Yes.
I briefly looked at it earlier, and I was going to enroll, but I haven't backed everything up on my phone yet.
Oh, okay.
I've had one big issue with it, and I'm not sure if it's just me. So I'm already enrolled in the 13, so I got automatic. And I think I installed it this morning and finished it. For some reason, I've had my phone completely freeze up, where the screen was on, but nothing happened. So I had to hold volume down and power till it restarted. Now it's beta, so yeah, it's beta. And who knows what, you can put it in safe mode and see what apps are causing that problem probably. So I didn't jump on Twitter and say, oh, look, Android sucks. It's like most people would.
It's an Android 14 early beta. It's practically a damn alpha.
Right. So, I mean, I'm just saying that's the issue. Only issue I've had, and it's pretty significant, but I have the wherewithal to say, hey, I'm going to restart it and it should be fine. But
now, Tuna, forgive me if I got this wrong, but you said you had it when it froze up on you, it was stuck on Roddy's OnlyFans page. Is that right?
Oh my gosh!
It was actually stuck on a certain scene, but I had to get the magnifying glass. I'm like, what is that? It's one of those things, where's Waldo kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Roddy. We make fun of Roddy's OnlyFans, but he's very successsul.
We're jealous. Successful. Yeah, we're just jealous. We're very jealous.
We're jealous. We're jealous. This is true. So we've had a lot of Android releases this week. So we've had the Android 14 beta, and we also had the update for the Ultra. Now, Roddy, I know you are the Samsung champ here. How's your experience been with the April update?
I haven't noticed anything significant about it. I saw some people talk good things about their battery life, but I haven't noticed anything hugely different out of it. But I mean, it was a good phone to begin with, so at least they didn't screw it up, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I haven't noticed any huge difference between anything as far as my battery doesn't seem any better or worse or.
Have you seen any improvements with the camera? Because that's what I think. This was meant to be the camera update, right?
Yeah, and again, I didn't. I had a lot of people say I've never had an issue. A lot of people talk about they can't capture motion well, and I've never had that issue. But I know that's been a big problem.
My camera looks just fine. It didn't change at all. Look, it looks exactly the same as it did before.
Exactly.
It looks exactly the same as it did. Yeah.
I can say. I will say this, typically, and this is not just with Samsung, it's with a lot of phones. I do it with my iPhone too, but typically I notice like maybe once a week, I feel like it's kind of, I need to, turn it off and turn it back on or whatever to kind of like, clear it up or whatever. Yeah. And I've noticed that it doesn't seem like it needs that. And I also notice like when you go into the device care settings, I typically try to do that, at least once a day or once every other day. And usually with Samsung, when you go in, it has the little optimize now thing on it.
Yes.
I haven't noticed where it usually it has, great, good, whatever. And it tells you if you need to optimize or not. And it hasn't asked me to optimize it the last few days either. So maybe they've got some stuff worked out. I don't know. But I haven't had any issues or noticed anything like major out of it, so all good here.
Well, as a general practice, I always tell individuals to at least restart your phone every couple days. There's no reason not to. It's just like any electronic device. Maybe I'm just in the minority there, but I haven't noticed any differences with my update. I really haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, I woke up this morning and it was in my kitchen making me breakfast.
Is
that something new?
That's kind of weird, but yes.
Bixby was talking to me, and it was crazy.
Must have watched my OnlyFans last night. I got excited.
The eggs were a sunny
Roddy-
side up, okay, Roddy? Don't even start.
I think Roddy's the only bug that Roddy mentioned was that his phone just hasn't stopped vibrating since he charged it. Just it's constantly vibrating one after the other.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I did update mine just yesterday, and today was the first full day with it running through. Again, I also have not found any kind of major issues. I don't see any improvement in the camera, but again, mine never had that slow shutter speed bullshit that you hear so much about either. In fact, mine's been pretty quick since I took it out of the box. Now, I mean, granted, I'm not taking photos of people running a marathon or kids frantically running around the backyard, but again, I haven't noticed anything dramatically different. Battery seems about the same. I haven't seen anything really going on there too much. But I'm also someone who turns my phone off at night. So at night, I'm shutting my phone down and powering it up in the morning. Like I'm a big proponent of the fact that I don't want shit bothering me at night. If you've got my landline number, if you need to call me.
My landline.
Landline, yeah.
What's a landline? I'm not familiar with that term.
Landline. No, I mean, I don't think it's a healthy thing to have your phone on 24 hours a day and have it right by your side and be, I guess the option to start, doom scrolling through Instagram or, Twitter.
Do it in your sleep.
What are you going to say, Sam?
Nothing. I was going to say I definitely don't like updates because every phone I buy is like I have a Moto on Android 12. I have a Surface Duo, Android 12.
Yeah.
And then I said, and I also have a Huawei P30 it's been rocking Harmony OS 2.0 for I don't know. It's been on a June
Harmony
security
OS.
patch, and I was just fucking with it just now, and look at that.
There's an update.
It's not an update. It's 5.5 gig. It's Harmony OS 3.0.0.123. It's actually the newest version.
So you don't have
Harmony
Google
OS.
on that, right? Or is that before Google went away?
P30 has P30 and the P30.
But it went to
Pro,
Harmony OS. Oh, that's right. It's an overlay for then. I'm
right.
sorry.
So,
I'm thinking
so
of
yeah. So I was going to say, none of my phones have got updates, and literally I just did a check, and it's almost a 6 gigabyte update.
That's crazy.
Dang.
Oh wow.
5.5.
That's a lot.
So it's 1 gigabyte of updates, 5 gigabytes of spying. I'm just kidding.
I'm getting it.
I'm totally kidding.
Yeah, but like I said, I just thought it was funny. It's like I have all these old phones that don't have any, I don't have these bleeding edge updates, and it's like, oh, well, guess what? I'll shut my mouth. I'm gonna go ahead and get Harmony OS 3. That's what I'm gonna do right
now. Maybe it'll change everyone's opinion about Huawei. That's going to be the thing that does it, right? Sam's going to start a revolution here. The U.S. government's going to go, nope, if it's good enough for Sam, it's good enough for everybody.
That's exactly right.
That's
remove the ban.
Leave all resistance.
Look at the patch notes. Look at this.
Wow.
At least they tell you what's happening.
Well, that's one update. That's one update.
That's one update. And I haven't had an update on this
Holy
phone
crap.
for 4.5 months. It was still rocking a June 2022 security patch.
So it's still being supported.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really
I just
good.
thought it was kind of funny because every once in a while, just for giggles, I'll just check for updates. It's like, hello. It says she don't know why, and that's like that means
right.
Chinese go fuck yourself, right? You're not getting any right? And then
so the 6 gigabytes of update. It's probably 5.9 of Chinese spyware, and 1 patch for the bug.
Well, the funny thing is, if it was a Pixel and it was a 6 gig update, I'd have to come back next week for it actually to install.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, can we talk about that? What the fuck?
Ouch!
Why does it take so long for the Pixel to update? I don't get it.
Hold on. I'm on beta, but
why?
Dalvon was talking about this. So the same day I got my S23 update, I got my beta 14 whatever, Dev 1 whatever, the same day. I think that Samsung's the reason why they're quicker is because they have a system and they're rolling it out. Google can't.
Yeah.
They went from Google Play Edition phones to Nexus phones to Pixel phones.
Yeah.
They've changed heads of people and designs of things, so they're still playing catch up. Maybe they don't have it figured out as how. And then
So
when
they're using a Windows 95 computer to like
No,
push
no,
these fucking
XP.
updates out. That's what it feels like.
It's XP.
Oh,
Come on.
XP. Sorry, yeah.
No, Windows
Yeah.
ME. Windows ME.
DOS,
ME, yeah, well, that's- yeah.
DOS 3.1. It's all
DOS 3.1. There you
all
go.
DOS.
I can see them fucking coding away on their fucking laptop there.
No,
you know,
I think they explained that
monochrome
there's
screen.
something with it while it's updating. It's some kind of a way it's a layered update, or it's something with the way they deploy their update schedules and their deployment. There's something that's because it's been on every Pixel.
They do it
phone.
differently.
And
Yeah.
they just do it
Yeah.
differently. It's like Moto. Moto doesn't really do a lot of like system upgrades. They'll like have components inside the upgrade and they'll just push those out. Like a camera update, they'll just push that. And I remember that was the way Android was going to be done, right? It was going to be these micro deployments, right? It was going to be, we're going to give you a camera deployment. We're going to give you a Google Play deployment. We're going to give you some software, or we're going to give you some kernel deployments or radios or, modems or what. It was supposed to be this fragmented. It's like not waiting for a complete release build, right? That's how old software companies do it, right? If you want a new version of a software, you have to put it in development, put it in QA, run smoke and regression, make sure it works, deploy it into a production environment, and then you have to wait to the next development cycle, right? So if you had stuff you wanted to get into this build and you had code cut off, you couldn't make it, right? So you had you had to roll it into the next one. And that's why Android 14 exists, because all those things that you're getting in Android 14 were probably code cutoffs. They try to get into 13, and they only had so much they can put in the deployment schedule. Like, well, shit's going to have to roll over to the next deployment, and we have to have something to put in the trough, right? We can't just say, well, that's it. And really, that's why, to me, they give you a couple little nuggets of deployment, but really, and software, but really there's nothing fundamentally different between 12, 13, and going to be 14. It's going to be these little other use of life features and that kind of stuff. But really, if you're rocking a phone with Android 12, I don't think, and as long as it's got an up-to-date security patch, I think you're pretty solid as far as because really your phone is what drives what you do. Some phones have all this extra software and the value-added stuff and bloatware and bullshit and stuff you're never going to use. That's an OEM thing. That really doesn't have anything to do with like Android specifically. So
I think the micro updates is probably the way to go, especially for Google, if it is that hard for them to push it out quickly. I know. I think is it the Google Play Store that updates automatically through the Google Play?
I believe
Play
so,
Play
I
updates.
believe,
See, that was one of their things, right? It was decoupling the Play Store and those Play Store and security updates and decoupling that from the OS, right? But they kind of stopped there. They kind of left it instead of having, and then you'll see like a camera, right? The Google camera gets an update by itself. So they're trying to do that. Yeah. It's to keep, instead of having, that way they can deploy mid-cycle. Or if they've got something, they can just kick it out. Oh, we got a new camera update. We don't have to wait for a release cycle. Okay, well, we'll get it in the next build in June.
Well,
no, we can just deploy it now because it's ready to go and it can be deployed OTA.
And those Google Play updates kind of happen in the background, so you don't really see or think of them, so people don't really know what's happening a lot of times. But what I've noticed with my iPhone, and I think I've saw it on Twitter a few times, people posting screenshots of their Play Store updates, and you have to, even though automatic updates turned on, you still got to go in there and hit update. I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah. You always have to resume. I don't want to resume. I just want to go. Update and go. Just go.
Exactly.
It's like, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, I fucking pushed the goddamn button. I want you to do the thing. Don't ask me, are you sure you want to deploy this software? Yeah, I just literally pushed the button 6 seconds ago. I'm sure I want to deploy the thing. I hate that. Every time I try to deploy a Pixel update, resume. Would you like to resume? Yeah, I would like to.
Forgive me if I'm wrong. Forgive me if I'm wrong. So with the Pixel line, when you're in the beta program, and Tuna, you might be able to answer this. Is it my understanding that you're not really like how am I going to phrase this? Sorry, the OS is not installing over the other original OS. It's like running concurrently. Is that?
I don't know. I'm not too sure because when I got the update to 14.1, it was like 2.4 gigabytes. So I would assume it's overwriting the original one. Yeah. The only thing I don't like about beta, and that's maybe you guys don't, I pay for a Google One storage level.
VPN, right?
And the VPN's good across the board for everybody, but does not work on beta. Now, what's funny is they opened it to any tier of Google One now. So my Samsung S23 Ultra, I can use it on that now, but I can't use it on a damn Pixel if I'm in beta, which pisses me off. But I like to have, and that that VPN. I know we're going off topic a little bit, but that VPN is amazing. Speeds are quick.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I used VPN Unlimited before that, and it was like trying to find that right server that was just fast enough. I'm like, this is terrible. So that's me.
No, I noticed it the other day. So when I was on my Ultra here, I was just checking the Google One app, and I'm like, oh, VPN. That's interesting. I'm wondering what happens if I click it. And sure enough, if I can connect it, and I remember reading that they were going to roll it out to all devices.
Well, I think you have to have at least you have to be paying for something, though, right?
Tier.
Yeah. So I have I pay for the 200 gig, which is the lowest one.
That's what I got. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and they included it for that, which is amazing. I mean, I'll take it for free and roll it in there. You're already paying for something, so
yeah. Dan, what are your I know we talked about you're a Pixel guy too, if I remember right.
Yeah, I have been for many years. Yeah.
Right.
That was very convincing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's not my primary device currently. But
he's going to pull out one of these.
I've used them.
Grid.
What's your primary device?
It's my webcam at the minute, the Pixel 6 Pro. But
really?
The Xperia is my.
That's right. Yeah, you're.
Right.
Yeah. I'm the one guy that uses them.
I've had them before.
I think. There's I've seen a couple of people posting lately with the Xperia 5 Gen 4. So it's been a lot of posts, a lot of images coming up, people saying that the camera's pretty good. What's your experience been with it, Dan?
I think there's a lot of people realizing now that the cameras are a lot better than what some YouTubers have made them out to be.
Ah, right.
Because
now, why do you think...
What?
Yeah. Why do you think that's the case, Dan?
I just think the way that some of the sort of the camera comparisons are done sort of favors a particular look, a particular style of photo, and Xperia's in some areas, especially when you come to raising shadows and things like that, it goes for a more natural look.
Yes.
So then it often comes across, they'll say, oh, look, it's not raised the shadows as much, it's worse.
Right. Okay.
And that's about it.
And the greens aren't neon enough. They're not. It's not adding that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I find the Xperia. I mean, sure, you've not got the same sort of like night modes and things that make things a lot easier in some cases, but for just pure photography during daytime, they're great. They're great, especially the new ones. The new ones are so good.
Yeah. I mean, I know they came. I mean, I know Sony was one of the first with the big 1-inch sensor, and they were really kind of like the pioneers when it came to like smartphones, and then Xiaomi picked up on it, and now all these other brands
Xiaomi,
are gone.
Oppo, and they all have 1-inch sensors, but they're using that point and shoot mentality. Where Sony, they do that, but they also have the extra app that makes it feel like a Sony DSLR, and if you're familiar with those cameras, it's a really, really good thing to have. I don't use a lot of Sony DSLRs, but I thought it was interesting for sure.
Yeah, there's just less computational.
Right.
That's
what I meant.
Yeah,
and that's just it just gives you that more natural looking photo,
but
which I just like. I mean, it's not for everybody, but
what if I prefer Skynet? I like Skynet pictures. I mean, I don't want non-Skynet.
Well, I know Mike just said here that it's the human eye versus the science of photography issue. People doing comparisons that don't understand accuracy but grade based on what looks better.
That's deep.
And I mean,
that's deep.
Yeah, and I mean he's right. If you think about Marquez's, yearly camera fucking roundup. Again, he said it. He said it too, where it's like people are going to pick the image that looks the most vibrant, looks the most bright, and to their eye, to most people's eye, what looks the best, right?
And that's why the Pixels, and the Apples, and they sell it. They're building these phones. That's why I think the Oppo and the Xiaomi are interesting. I wish they'd come over here, but I think using the 1-inch sensor, there are some. If you read any of those the YouTubers that actually focus on what a 1-inch sensor can do, there are some benefits and some drawbacks. But I think if you're the kind of person that wants to go out and just shoot a picture, you may be more apt to see those differences. Maybe not. I don't know. It's a stretch.
Yeah.
But
I think most people just can't. Most people just won't understand the difference with a 1-inch sensor compared to the smallest possible sensor on, say, a Pixel 6a. And that's why
I'm
you'll get
willing to
people
bet.
like choosing the 6A photos over anything else
Yeah.
because they just look good.
I go back to my coworker.
I'm-
My iPhone can make movies. Androids can't. What are you talking about? I mean,
Yeah.
but that's how they feel sometimes. They don't understand that.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
it.
I'm willing to bet that at the end of this year, because Marquez usually puts the reigning champ versus all the new lineup of phones, I'm willing to bet you that the Pixel 6a or the 7a or whatever he's using there, I'm willing to bet you that rate's high, even with the 1-inch sensors and the
He already
50
did it.
megapixel.
He did it in April. Remember the S23
Well,
won everything.
Yeah,
Even the best
yeah, that was
folding
a good
phone.
April Fool's joke. Yeah.
As soon as I saw he won the second award, I'm like, something's not adding up here. What the hell's going on?
Mhm.
I actually put on we have a little group chat, and I actually put on there. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching right now? Because I was like, I wasn't even paying. I was just sitting down, I'm sitting back. I'm like, what's going on here right now? Like, what is this?
I have
And
to
then it
admit that
clicks,
was that was pretty entertaining. I have to admit.
It was.
Yeah.
I found it to be entertaining. I thought it was.
I was surprised. I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna lose. Apple. Apple's gonna be so pissed.
Yeah.
That's all I kept thinking in the back of my head. Then I'm like, wait
Yeah.
a minute, hold on, pump the
Yeah.
brakes.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you right now.
Rewind.
I think he's the one person who's probably bulletproof on that.
Oh,
Yeah, I
There's
think you're right.
probably
Oh,
one
yeah.
person that could probably pull
I
that
think
off.
he's all right. I think he's all right.
I think
Yeah.
he could probably pull it off and get a little. He won't get a John Rettinger. I think if he actually does it, I don't think. Well, seriously, John kind of stepped out of line, and boy, Apple snapped his ass back to
he
reality
did.
real
Big
quick,
time.
and they let him know, hey man,
It's crazy.
you understand how this goes, right? You come out here,
Yeah.
you're going to
Crazy.
throw us
Yeah.
shade. We're going to find the first bus and shove you right out in front of it.
But Marquez
I don't
could
know if you
clap
saw
back.
his video.
Marquez
Right,
could
and
clap
Marquez
back just
can
as
clap
hard,
back.
right?
Right. Marquez
Yeah.
has been on Joe Rogan and has interviewed a couple presidents and Bill Gates. So
Yeah.
I don't think Apple
And
wants to
Elon
step
Musk.
up,
Leverage.
because I
He's
think
got
he could
leverage.
actually he's got leverage, and he can make it really noisy and really ugly for them very quickly. So I think
Mhm.
Marquez of
Kinda
all
wanna see it.
probably pull it off and come out pretty decent. So
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know if you saw John Rettinger's video when he was describing what happened with him and Apple there, which was a very actually entertaining watch. And if you haven't seen it,
I've seen it. Yeah.
look it up. Him describing how essentially he was blackballed by Apple. For some comments that were made, and and we always talk about this on this channel, how some of these the bigger tech people in the space, how they are expected to toe the line, I guess is a good way to put it, and kind of like sell the message, and that's
It
the
was all the
agreement that
proof
they
we needed.
signed. Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, look, if one of us came out and said, fuck you, Apple, probably no one would pay attention. But, at the end of the day, these other tech people who have a lot of sway, like you said, Sam, with like someone like him, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Jesus.
What is that? Wow.
I didn't even know you could. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know what I
Are you
said.
making it rain? Man, you're making it rain over there.
Millions was the key word there. Millions, right?
I think it's a billions.
But anyway, just one last quickly we'll just chime in here. So I know, Tuna, you wanted to talk about the ROG Phone 7 Ultimate Edition.
Ultimate.
Yeah, so gaming phones are never going to make
Ultimate.
mainstream, and I understand why, because most people buy their phones to make phone calls and take pictures. Gaming phones don't typically have very good cameras. But if you watch any of the videos recently, what's interesting about the ROG 7 is it's got the Snapdragon Gen 2. It's got all this 16 gigs of RAM and half a terabyte of whatever. But what's interesting is they have that cooling system that you can add on. And there's actually, if you watch the MKBHDs, there's actually a little window at the back of the phone that when you put the cooler on, it actually opens up the back of the phone so air can actually go into the cooling chamber. And the cooling
That's fancy.
the cooling device has a subwoofer built in. So you can have see, wow. I mean, look, even
Crazy.
Seth Meyers thought I was, so. But yeah, I think that's interesting because I think if you are a gamer and you have a cooling system on your phone and you set it down and it's propped up, having that extra sound, having extra cooling, I guess. I mean, the problem is the 165 hertz screen. What game even uses 120? On an Android device.
Which one's optimized for that? Yeah, that's what I always think that. Every time I see a gaming phone, I'm like, oh, amazing. Look at that.
But it's really, but that's what I'm saying. If you want to stand out, you hold that phone with a little OLED screen on the back. It's amazing. See that that's girls speaking for me, No. I just I think it's an interesting device, and I think that I mean, Asus has got a long way to go to sell these things, but I think it's. I still think it's. I think it's a cool device.
I don't know if the cooling on it's maybe a little bit overkill.
Oh, it's definitely overkill. That's the whole point.
When you look at like the Red Magic 8 Pro's got that built-in fan.
Yeah.
But it still runs at pretty much 100% load, 100% performance the whole way through.
There were some cool. I had that phone, and there were some videos out there where it did show. I'm not saying it dropped at 20 degrees.
Yeah.
But the external cooler, they said it would for Asus in their testing. But the ROG or the Red Magic, I think it was like 4 or 5 maybe degrees Celsius max, if that.
Yeah.
But that's still pretty significant if you're truly gaming. But for me, I wasn't like gaming for 8 hours at night and then making a phone call to my mom asking her to get me some, tuck me in at night or something. And it was, so I don't know. I mean, I think gaming phones have their place.
I'm okay with throwing all that in there. 166 hertz and 16 gigs.
Oh,
of
it's
RAM.
cool. It's overkill.
Throw it all in there.
If you buy that, you're getting the kitchen sink. That's what you're. That's what you're buying. Well. It's really neat. Yeah.
Because really, if you are buying that phone, you automatically are going to stand out anyway from probably most of the people you're coming.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So now, if you're going to rock that lifestyle, you might as well go all the way in, right, and be garish and that's why the phones design wise aesthetically aren't very subtle. They're very aggressive in style. They're very in your face with LEDs and RGBs, and it's what the hell, man. If you're gonna go big, man. I mean, it's whatever.
I mean,
it's fine.
Did they say, just one quick question, did they make any changes to the camera, or is this just like performance upgrades?
From what I understand, the cameras are better than most gaming phones, but it's not significant. I think it's got 50 megapixel prime, 12 megapixel wide, probably a 2 megapixel macro or something like that. But they said general daylight pictures is going to be decent, but you start to lose it, when it gets darker out and stuff like that.
I always wondered, so these gaming phones, and I understand that the cameras are not good on a gaming phone, but I always wondered why they didn't go and buy up like all of the old camera sensors that we know have been tested. Like, for example, like all of those pixel, 12 megapixel cameras they had from like 1 to 5.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Why didn't Google sell them to the gaming phone companies and say, you know what, these cameras are pretty fucking good. We'll give you a little bit of some software help with it. And you know what, you might actually sell some devices. And I mean, I know that would be counterproductive, but you could bleed that into the Google portfolio. And
look, they gave away Magic Eraser. They gave away Magic Eraser.
Well, exactly. They gave away everything.
Yeah.
Give it all
They're
away.
a software company first. They could charge a fee to all these companies to use that camera software, and they can make a killing off that.
So I just want to say something really quickly. So I recently have been playing with the Oppo Find N2 Flip. And I just wanted to mention this. It just popped into my head. So on the Oppo Find N2 Flip, when you open up Google Photos, I noticed, because it's mostly a stock version of Android, the global version, I found that I had all of the features of the Pixel in the Google Photos app, including Magic Eraser, Photo Unblur, all of those features. And I'm not sure if that was on purpose or if that's a fuck up, but basically all of the features that Google has in that Google Photos app, I was getting on the Find N2 Flip.
They want to give away all their exclusive features. It's a great idea.
Yeah, let's just give everything away. Sure.
Dan, you are so convincing. I have the Pixel 7. They should give away all of their stuff.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love it.
So one final thought before we wrap up tonight's show. So with the Pixel 8 on the horizon coming in too, what's going to be a feature you would think Google might bring in to the 8 series?
Jesus.
Not what you want, but what do you think might be realistic?
They need SoC improvements.
I think so too. Yeah.
I would say
Tensor's got it, man. Yeah.
I would want some kind of like Ready 4 or DeX capability.
Yes,
I think that has got to be something that I think they're going to have to get on board with at some point. They're going to have something. Ready 4 is pretty cool. I have to admit, DeX is pretty cool. And again, is it down groundbreaking? No. Is it people going to use it?
No.
Not necessarily, but I'm telling you, when you have to use it in a pinch, when it comes in hand, and it's like my thing always.
DeX is amazing.
Why not just have it? I mean, it's like, why not
Right.
just leverage it? It's not that hard.
Yeah.
You need and the only thing I can tell you is I think that they're afraid it's going to cannibalize either Chromebook or Chrome OS features, which I really don't think they are.
And
then you can get people to buy a phone instead of a Chromebook, and
but you can still selling devices. I mean, either way, you get them engaged.
Yeah.
So I mean, really at that point, I just like I said, I think that would be something I'd really like to see Google do is have some kind of like a ready for a DeX kind of component. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
With the Red Magic, they had that console mode, which I really enjoyed for gaming.
Yes.
Like, and that's, again, not a huge gamer, but you plug it in your TV, grab a Bluetooth, controller, and you could play any game you want on a big screen. And it was something that most phones didn't have. I mean, DeX is similar, but it's not a gaming console mode, which was kind of neat. I mean, I think I agree with Sam. I think that'd be amazing. So
I would love to see Google abandon the in-screen fingerprint sensor and go with a side button.
On the back again.
On the back. Honestly,
what was that?
The fucking.
What's he saying?
She's saying on the back, 100%, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Listen,
so much easier.
Bring back Solid.
Pixel 7, the 6, as much as they fucking told us that got better, it didn't. It maybe improved 10 to 15% accuracy, right? But that's not enough. Fucking ditch it.
It fails on me. It fails on me so often.
Yeah. Well, you've seen the Oppo one where like that
5 seconds. I hold on for like 5 seconds and eventually it unlocks.
And I think Oppo had that one where it's like a 5-inch square in the middle of the screen where you could put your finger anywhere.
Oh yeah.
And
I want to put my fucking palm down. Yeah.
Or bring LG's vein. Remember when LG had the vein? You could read the vein in your hand. And
hey, I'll tell you right now, I had a G8. That was the coolest
I loved it. It was
ever. And I like the whole you hold this thing and you can kind of turn.
Yes.
It was so cool.
And everybody's like, that's such a gimmick. I said, did you fucking use it? I'll tell you.
Yeah.
You want to be a cool dude at a party with your, before the face unlock. Just go like, watch this some like Jedi mind shit. Just go and watch people and watch the phone react.
Yeah.
People like, what kind of space age shit is that? I'm like, I know, right? It's like, are you using it all the time? Hell yeah. Watch this. Volume up. Volume down.
And the cameras are really good on that thing. I love the cameras. It was a perfect size. It was built well. I like the LG for friends too. I know you guys didn't like that. Take the bottom off, put some accessories in it. I liked all LG phones. The curve.
I was a big fan of that was the G4, right? I like the G3 was my favorite with its.
I love the G4.
Yeah. The curve, how it curved into your hand.
Quite a few people love the
curved, the flat screen was flat. So went with that kind of
I
like
the V10, the V series phones. I like the V10.
Darren used to be very handsy. I don't know about that.
I liked it. It was pretty good. But I thought that vein, the hand unlock, and then the hand gesture. I thought it was kind of fun to use.
It didn't always work. But once you figured out where to put your hand at, we were like, "Well, that's so cool."
But it just goes to show you that somebody over there, some development engineers, some people were looking at how to integrate different kinds of hardware. Like, who would have thought to use the veins inside of your palm, like palm unlock?
Yeah.
Who would have thought
That's
to
crazy.
map that? It's just crazy. And this is like, hey, you know what we can do? Like, we can do retinal scan. No, we can't do that. Oh shit, your hand. Yeah, let's do that.
And they're like, Samsung do that? Didn't Samsung have the retinal scan? They had the eye scan on with the 9.
Actually, Windows Hello. Windows Hello in 2015 had Windows Hello on 950.
Yes.
It was so
you could unlock it.
That's what it was.
It wasn't face unlock. It was a retinal unlock. It mapped your eyes.
It was really good.
It was cool. And it's like, that's 2015.
It works so well.
Wireless charging, face, Windows Hello on a phone. Oh, dude, yeah. Come on now.
I almost like want to go back to the wild west days of like smartphone developixel, right? Where like anything goes. Yeah. Like I miss those days. Now it's just all the same shit. It's a glass sandwich, camera megapixel increase, a little bit bigger battery, but it's the same shit, right? And I mean, maybe that's what we want, consistency, but I don't know. There's something nice about phones that are different. And, ones that you can kind of go, hey, yeah, this is kind of cool.
It sounds good in theory, but these companies can't keep putting all the R&D into a phone it's not going to sell. Yeah. And they can build a slab and then it's going to sell. I mean, I know I'm being realistic. Maybe I'm being a downer, but that's the way I look at it. That's why they don't do it. I mean, look at LG. They tried the Wing, which was an amazing phone. I love it.
Amazing idea.
But it didn't save them, and they couldn't save. I mean, the hand scan and Nothing could save
You know what I love about the wing?
Yeah.
You can tell that was LG going, fuck it.
Yes.
Here we go. Like, let's just do it and see what happens, right?
Did you see the guy who took the when you swiveled out the small screen, he turned it into like a video game system or something? I can't remember what it was. I'm like, dude, I need to get one of those things. That thing is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Good luck finding an LG wing. They sell on eBay for hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
And they just got updated to Android 13 too. They're still updating those phones. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and again, I mean, I love it when companies go, fuck it, let's just see what happens. Like, you know, Google with the 5 series, let's just try and put some poly whatever on the back, and we'll do wireless charging too. Why the fuck not? Let's just see what happens. And you know what? Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't.
Hey, in June, we're going to have Apple do it with the AR. They're going to say, F it, we're going to start using AR. Right?
Yeah.
R.
Well, apparently my camera's telling me that I'm too ugly. I'm too ugly for YouTube and it's blurred on me. So I think that's a good sign to go. We will leave it there for today. Thank you very much, Tuna, Sam, Melissa, Roddy, Dan. You guys are amazing. I love the thank you gifs that we're getting. Fuck me. All right. On that note.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Too far.
Really appreciate you guys being here today. We will catch you guys next Thursday, 7:30 p.m. I feel like I'm a ghost. Woo! 7:30 p.m. every Thursday on YouTube. And you can also catch us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Roddy's OnlyFans page link. You can catch us on all these things. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.